One last one.
The flag wasn't going to be on it.
Oh, I can. Can you take the flag? I'll talk.
And then next to her lady.
Just over? Yeah, I'll go forward. That'd be great. She's in the film.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's great.
Is there any possibility that you could sing on that record? Okay, and what do you think of this big Hollywood premiere? I mean, wow. Wow. It's so exciting. My first big premiere, so I'm like,
One more stop over here.
Candy
Oh,
by Mandy Moore.
that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
It did not get the traction I thought it
Also, the ET viewer is too old to know what that song is. They don't know that song.
On mine.
Oh yeah, on
Get the
mine.
hell out of our shot.
On mine, yeah, they should. Yeah.
It's always better with
Mandy, looking right. Mandy, looking right. And one more time, straight out, right in front of you. Looking right in front of you, right in front of you. Lady. Come on, Mandy, look right here. Looking straight ahead.
Get you all this.
Where are we looking?
How are you?
Get his shot. Did he get his shot? Excuse me. That's not kind. That's not kind. That's cool. Where are we going? Here? Yeah. Who knows? Guys, right here. Everybody right here. That's fine. Hey guys, look at straight in. You guys all listen. Guys, look at straight ahead. Yeah. Guys, one time right here. Good, Alex. Everybody, all four. One more time right here, please. One more time. Patient person. Thank you so much. guys one time right here.
Oh, you got it.
Don't do it last time, guys. That's Thank you.
There are a lot of movies coming out that I'm not. I can't really tell you about them. I'll tell you that one.
Yeah. You're gonna get more. Okay, I'm very excited. I promise not to be scared. Good to see you. I love your backpack. Bye.
I'm going for it. Let me know.
Okay, Andrew.
All right. First question is, talk to me about why this film is about hope and resistance.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I think the film is really allegorical in a lot of ways. It's these kids who have these superpowers, these newfound abilities that adults are afraid of because they know that it will lead to basically the overthrow of the systems that they're used to. And so they put them in camps. But these kids face this persecution and they decide to resist against it, and they break out of the camps and they learn how to wield their power and how to fight against a regime of government that they don't believe in. So I think definitely about hope and resistance.
Coming from obviously another YA franchise to another YA film, what is it about YA in that universe? Why are people still fascinated by these kinds of books?
I think YA has a tendency to appeal to a lot of people. I mean, I'm technically no longer a teenager or a YA, but I still really love it. And I think it's because when you see characters around this age portrayed, they're usually really uncontrived and authentic. And no matter what, no matter how old you get, you can still relate to that experience.
Which power would you want and why?
I'd want to be definitely telekinetic, have the ability to move things in my mind, because I could do really awesome stuff and use it as like a weapon, but I could also use it to not have to get off my couch.
What, last question is, obviously valid, so valid, yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. This film, we're talking about hope, but, in dark times, how do you find hope when things get dark?
I don't know, that's a difficult question. I mean, I think that's the only path if you plan to continue resisting is to maintain hope, and I think I maintain hope just by seeing the community I have around me who's like-minded, who has so many incredible intentions for the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Put yourself in the role you play.
I'm Skylan Brooks, and I play Chubbs.
So talk to me a little bit about your character.
So my character his power is enhanced intelligence, but you could say hyper-intelligence. Basically, the power is he can see 3D math problems in a sense, as you see in the CGI. He can read any map, he can speak any language, and basically he can see it all virtually in a sense as well, too. Yeah.
Why is this a film about hope and resistance?
Because it takes a team and a family in order to fight the resistance, or to fight the enemy in this case, which is the government. Yeah.
So, sometimes times can be dark and tough. Where do you go? How do you find hope in dark times?
To be honest, I go to my mom. But, I think, in my sense, I see the situation and I kind of process it the best way I can. But, it helps to talk to other people and, confide in other people, too.
Which power would you want and why?
I gotta say teleportation. There's a lot of beautiful places in the world. If I could go into space without having to need a rocket ship, that'd be fire, though. Take some nice pics. Yeah.
How are you gonna breathe?
I don't know. That's also part of the superpower. Yes, somehow. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
What do you say?
I'm good.
Hi. Okay. First question is, first, if you could slate yourself and tell me the character you play.
Yes. Hi, my name is Golden Brooks, and I'm playing Molly Daly, Ruby's mom.
First, tell us a little bit about Ruby's mom.
Ruby's mom is sort of going through this kind of transition of she's forgotten her daughter. And, just think about it. Any parent who literally has been completely, their memory of anything that they loved is completely taken away from them, completely vanished. So she's trying desperately to remember her child. When Amanda comes back older, I'm trying desperately to figure out who this person is, what my life was, what it is now without her. And it happens very young when they take her away. So she's basically in turmoil throughout the film, wanting to have her life back, and she just can't remember. So she's in pain.
Why is this a film about hope and resistance?
It's a movie about hope and resistance because it literally is about trying to regain what you lost. And I mean, it's very apropos to what happens in life. You know, sometimes we're conscious going through life, but there's things that happens that in life that you get this sort of post-traumatic stress and you literally block out a certain part of your life. And literally you have to have that hope again, that spark of feeling happy, the spark of believing in something again, which gives you happiness. I mean, we get drained by life's stuff. And I think this movie is reminiscent of that even though these kids are taken out of their comfort zone by this other source, but it really is about getting back to the familiar and their home and their family.
Last question, which power would you want and why?
Oh, I'm sneaky. I'd want to be invisible. Because I'm sneaky, and I'd want to know what was going on. What would you guys want?
I would want to have water power and like my mom be invisible.
What would you want?
I want to be invisible and I want to be really fast because I don't want to get caught.
Can you say your first and last name on camera?
Dakota Woodside. Tori Turner.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. For my editor, please, if you could say your first and last name and be like, I'm the director.
I'm Jen Nelson. I'm the director of the movie.
Okay, Jen, talk to me about why this film is about hope and resistance.
It's actually about the positive things that come out when people are facing adversity, seeing them sort of own their own destiny, become like proud of what unique things are special about themselves, and actually stepping forward and taking charge of their own lives. I think it's about camaraderie, friendship, and about how young people can actually depend on each other to sort of change their lives.
How do we find hope in dark times?
With your friends, with your loved ones. I think that's really all that matters.
Talk to me about kind of your stellar cast. How was the camaraderie? How was Mandy? Just talk to me about that.
They were so amazing. We basically had the best time together. Mandy was such a joy. I was so happy to have the best people. Gwendolyn was amazing. Amandla and Harris and Mia and Skyland are just so good together. They're actually friends in real life, and it was just wonderful to have such a good time with them.
Last question, which power would you want and why?
I wish, well, for the movie, I would love to be a red because I could burn things up. But in real life, I'd like to fly so I could just, chill out.
Thank you, Jen. Chill out for Jen. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, it's an amazing project.
Okay, first, if you could say your first and last name and the role you play.
Okay, I'm Lydia Jewett and I play Ruby Daly in Darkest Minds.
Okay, so first tell me a little about the character you play in this film.
Well, Ruby is a very smart girl. She tricked someone to thinking that she was a green when she was really an orange. So she's very smart and she's strong and beautiful. And I'm very blessed to be able to play this character and to be able to see this character being brought to life from the books.
Why does this film have a message about hope?
This film has a message about hope because it's like all these kids are in these tough situations from their powers that they have received, and people think that they are a threat. So there's hope. There's a message of hope there that things will get better.
What power would you want and why?
I would want the power to make everybody kind, because that way the world is a better place. There wouldn't be wars, and everywhere.
Thank you so much. Well put. How are you? Good. Oh, you smell good.
Thank you.
Can we do this now?
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna get you now.
Okay, I'm ready. A couple of quick ones, and then I have to pull her to do 2 shots with me.
Okay. Mandy.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me about being the token adult in this film.
This is a first for me in a film. But yeah, to be the token adult in this, gigantic, epic YA film is quite an honor. It's quite humbling. I'm like, yes, I've gotten there. I've reached the age at 34. All these youngsters. It's fun being the, veritable adult, I guess.
Why is this a film about hope and resistance?
I think this film in particular is incredibly poignant and timely. I think there are a lot of themes, especially for young people, to sort of garner, and hopefully it will help shape their sense of tolerance and their point of view on the world. And in that sense, I'm really proud to be a part of it. It's not just like this beautiful, emotional journey that I know young people are going to be drawn to because of those elements of like romance and whatnot. Like there really is a message. And I think that's more important than anything nowadays.
Now, you were a teen when you started in this biz. These kids are teens. What does it make you reflect on your own kind of journey and where you are, where you've been?
I mean, honestly, with Amandla and the group of young people that are in this film, they're so far beyond where I ever was at their age, let alone where I am now. They don't need any of my advice. They're doing fine for themselves. But it does make me, definitely working with them made me reflect back on my journey and being a young person in this industry and just how wildly different times are now.
What power would you want and why?
Doesn't everybody say invisibility? It would be a toss-up, I really think, between invisibility and flight. Both of those sound pretty epic.
Thank you, Mandy Moore. Thank you. Good to see you. First, if you could say your first last name and the role you play.
I'm Mark O'Brien, and I play Rob Meadows.
Why is this a film about hope and resistance?
It's a good question. Well, it's because you're seeing youth kind of take charge. And I think, with movies like this too, you can see a lot of parallels with our time. And I think a lot of people like to do that. Audiences like to do that. And with this, I think it's really cool because I think a lot of times people think that kids or teens, don't really have a say. And they don't really matter as much sometimes. Their voice doesn't matter. And I think that's the hope of this movie, that you can overcome stuff. And it doesn't matter. You don't need to be 30 years old to do it or 40 years old to do it or whatever. And I felt like that as a kid myself, to be honest. Growing up, I felt like I wasn't listened to quite as much. So I think that's kind of the hope and the resistance comes from the youth angle.
Why are kind of YA novels still so popular?
I don't know, but what's really cool is that you have young kids reading. That's such a cool thing, especially with today, you know what I mean? And especially, I grew up in a video game kind of time, and I grew up in the 90s. And to still see, kids still read and get so into it, I think it's really cool. I don't know what the answer is to that. I mean, it's somehow just taps into something, and I think it goes back to actually the question you just asked about hope. It provides that kind of hope and positivity that we don't always get.
Which power would you want and why?
Which power? I wouldn't want to read other people's thoughts because that'd make me go crazy. I think, teleportation. I'd love to just be able to teleport somewhere else and not go to the airport security. That'd be fantastic. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Hi. One, Andrew.
Mia, nice to meet you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Things are going.
Things are going.
Things are happening. How are
Okay. First, if you could say your first and last name and the role you play.
My name is Mia Chek, and I am playing Zoo.
Tell me a little about your character.
Zoo is the youngest of the four, if you notice that there are four. And she is a gold, which means she has the power of electricity, and she is very protective of her fellow friends who are following her through this adventure, and she is very cute, and she is sort of, she doesn't really know how to use her powers quite yet, but she's getting there, and she has help from her friends.
Why is this a film about hope?
Hope because this is about resistance, and it's very timely because this script and this story was written a few years ago, and this was supposed to be science fiction. Well, now it's not, and I feel like that this is a great story for now. I'm sort of sad that this is happening, but also glad that it is, because it is a good thing for this production, because it's about kids and teenagers standing up for what's right and using their voice and using their power. And I think it's really just about finding family no matter where you are, and having friends by your side, and always standing up for what's right.
Last question, which superpower would you want and why?
I would want to have the power of, is this in the movie spectrum or just any?
No, you. What do you want?
I wanted the power, orange, to read people's minds. That way, I'd know if someone was mad at me, and I wouldn't have to ask uncomfortably. And I'd be like, "You're mad at me. I know it. I can see it." And they're gonna be like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you'll get it later."
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Hey,
how you
Andrew.
doing? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, how you doing, buddy? I'm good, boss. I'm good. Let's do this. Thank
Uh,
God it's not hot.
I know, right? First, if you could slate yourself in the role you play in the film.
Hi, I'm Sammy Rotibi, and I play Paul Daly, Ruby's dad, Amanda Steinberg.
Talk to me about why this film is about hope and resistance.
Because I just think, it's nice to know that the kids, they are our future. We as adults, we haven't really been doing the job, and the kids are revolting and saying, you know what, we have a voice, and it gives you hope. You know what I mean? It's a very entertaining film. It's about romance as well. But these kids are stepping up and going against the establishment and having a voice and saying that we need to be heard. And I'm really glad to be. It gives me hope to know that the future generation have something to say with what's going on around the world right now, especially everything that's happening right now. So I think it's a great film. It's also entertaining.
Last question, which superpower would you want and why?
Oh my God, dude. Wow. Probably mind reader, so I can read your mind and your mind. So you better go watch.
Thanks, man. Congratulations.
Years around.
I know.
I know the Stiller shoulder.
Okay, so Sean, kind of talk to me about why this was a project you wanted to be a part of.
Well, I just like the fact that it had really resonant themes about empowerment and about kind of the possibility of reshaping the world according to how you want it to be rather than how you inherited it. And I just felt that that was a really kind of powerful, aspirational theme for really everyone, certainly for young people, but for all of us who want to believe that we can become empowered and own our power. And the fact that it did that with this poppy kind of hook of kids with powers discovering their power, that struck me as really compelling.
Just talk to me about as a producer, there's so many movies being made, and there's certain slots to be filled in these studios. How hard is it as a producer to get one of your films into one of those slots?
Well, it's really hard, especially if the film you're trying to get in one of those slots is not from a comic book, is not a title that is global, IP branded famous. Studios, it's no secret, they make fewer and fewer of these movies, and yet Arrival was that kind of movie, Darkest Minds is that kind of movie, and we really want to do big commercial movies, but we also want to do original stories, and this was one of those.
Which power would you want and why?
Well, it's not one that's in the movie. I've always wished I could fly, so it would be flying. I think that's a pretty universal human yearning. But if I had to pick someone from in the movie, I guess it would be Liam and the ability to control and move things with their minds.
And what's next for you? What do you have coming up after this?
Well, we have our Lionsgate movie Kin coming out at the end of August, and I'm in the middle of making Stranger Things 3, so that's got me pretty busy. Nothing.
Come on,
I'm moving it along.
Give me a look. Give me a look.
I'm a walking spoiler risk, but not tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Alexandra Bracken, author of the Darkest Minds series.
All right, Obby's first question. Tonight's a big night.
Yes.
The page is coming to the screen. How are you feeling? Tell me everything.
I feel so excited and relieved that people finally can see this movie and just enjoy it. It's been such a long road. The book was originally optioned back in 2011. It went to production 6 years later, and now it's finally in theaters next Friday. So I am thrilled and cannot wait to hear what everyone thinks.
Kind of talk to me about the continued obsession with YA novels, because I feel like you're also 20 years old. So just kind of talk to me, and also what was your inspiration for writing this?
So I think people love YA stories because YA stories are universal coming of age stories, and they hit a lot of firsts that we all share, like first love, first time really leaving home, first time trying to kind of figure out who you are as a person. So there's something really universal and wonderful about YA stories. And the great thing about them and the genre as a whole is that you can transplant that arc into a sci-fi story. It can be a contemporary story. There's so much you can do with it, and that's why YA is so fun. It blends all these different genres. Even The Darkest Minds is a mix of sci-fi and thriller and adventure. It's all over the place, but a blast.
Which power would you want and why?
I think I'd want telekinesis. What about you? It would be nice not to have to get up off the couch when I want. I'm just kidding. That's the lazy girl's answer. Yeah, I feel like telekinesis would be the most useful out of everything.
And how kind of active were you? Did you go to set? Did you have input? Talk about that.
So I had some early input on the script. Chad Hodge, who I think will be here tonight, you can chat with him too. He's the wonderful screenwriter, and he and I had a bunch of phone calls about the script and just like different changes he was thinking about, how the characters were going to be fleshed out over the course of the movie. And then I kind of got to step back a little bit and let everyone work their magic. And it's been really wonderful to see the story through the eyes of other people and their imagination. But I did get to visit set. I had 2 different set visits, and both of them were amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Hey, don't close out, stay with me as I have more sci-fi for you. Did you know that Stanley Kubrick destroyed almost all of his props and sets from 2001 A Space Odyssey because he didn't want them to be used in any lesser science fiction films? The spacesuit costumes in Ridley Scott's Alien were so poorly ventilated that the cast was passing out from CO2 inhalation. And Terminator 2 Judgment Day is the only sequel in the history of Hollywood to date to win an Academy Award when its prequel was not even nominated. What's your favorite sci-fi film? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. Bye bye!